Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto News. And my question of today is, are you bullish on crypto? Yes or no? Comment it down below. And now if you've done that, go head over to the Growth Masters Academy and check these videos out. I've been making videos on here explaining to you guys how to make some extra money on the side. It can literally within a couple of months earn you thousands. It's not a joke, all right? It's for you guys. I'm making these videos because it's my main job. It's what I do, and I want to teach some of you as well. So check it out. I know not all of you will do the steps I've been teaching, but if at least a couple of people do it, hopefully it will change your life. Having said that, let's have a talk here about the freaking end game or the new standard, financial reset, and things like that. Starting off, David Schwartz here, who said, the end game is just money moving invisibly as easily as information. Very often on the channel, we talk about the end goal. We talk about the price in the future. But not that often do we really talk about what the end game is and how far we are progressing towards that point. One very important distinction to make is that even though prices may not change that much, our world is changing a ton. And when I say a ton, I mean a ton. Just take a look at this article right here. How to follow our Green Horizon Summit, the pivotal role of finance. It's time to reset the relationship between finance and the real economy. Public and private finance must get behind the transition to a sustainable and resilient future for all. The City of London Corporation, in collaboration with the Green Finance Institute and supported by the WEF, or World Economic Forum, is hosting a virtual summit 9/11, or actually the 9th of November, that will focus on the role of green finance in the recovery from 5 major themes, all right? And what you got to know from this one is there's a couple of interesting points if we actually consider Ripple, right? And one of those is the City of London Corporation. I mean, a lot of people have said Ripple is ready for London. The second part is that, well, this whole thing is about the transition of finance and sustainability, which, funny enough, has been one of Ripple's biggest focuses of the last couple of weeks, right? We saw them report on this quite a good amount. The Great Financial Reset, IMF Managing Director calls for a new Bretton Woods moment. As the global economy shudders from the disastrous effects of central planning, the International Monetary Fund Managing Director in Washington, D.C., Kristalina Georgieva, is calling for a new Bretton Woods moment. Georgieva spoke about the juncture on October 15th, and she stressed today's economic hardships are the same as the difficulties the world faced at the end of Thingy 2. Free market advocates on social media and forums believe that IMF Managing Director's recent Bretton Woods speech should invoke increased suspicion. And IMF article alludes to a huge change coming. If you kind of consider that for a second, what are they talking about? The article has caused sound money and free market advocates to grow concerned that a big change is coming and possibly a great financial reset. Economists, analysts, and Bitcoiners have been discussing the IMF Managing Director's speech since it was published on the IMF website a couple of weeks ago. And again, Raoul Pal said that Georgieva's article alludes to a huge change coming to the global financial system, and I don't think anybody really knows exactly what it was envisioning, but they mentioned, the Thingy 2, right? And if you mention that, I think you also got to kind of think about what happened in the decades just before that, because what has changed? Well, in 1920, America, or I believe it was 1920, maybe it was 1918 or 22, something along those lines there, America became the world reserve currency. Why? In my opinion and how I viewed everything, because they had the largest reserve of gold and because they were the most stable, right? Just after Thingy 1. A new gold standard is coming, brace for monetary reset, Jan Nieuwenhuis. So I just checked this video out here. It may look like I've only watched 7, but no, I actually watched it all the way through because I personally, on a personal level, really care for this stuff, all right? I'm quite ecstatic when I listen to this because these are changes that are happening on a global scale that we have no influence upon, but still can watch every single moment of. And you might be wondering, how does this all relate back to Ripple? How does this all relate back to XRP? How does this relate to this quote here? It's about the end freaking game, all right? And the means, they don't really matter. They don't really matter if we're considering the bigger picture. How they're going to get there? It doesn't really matter. In this case here, let's take a look at the gold standard in the text below. I recommend you guys to all watch this video, but if you can't, then just listen to what I have to say here. Excessive monetary stimulus, a byproduct of an undisciplined fiat money system, will create problems for our economy as well as financial distortions, and the long-term solution is a monetary reset, whereby economies move away from the system and readopt a gold standard, said Jan Nieuwenhuis, gold analyst at the Gold Observer. There are a lot of financial bubbles. There are excessive debt levels. Inequality is rising. You've got moral hazards. All these side effects of a fiat money standard are not likely or really what we want, and eventually we'll get a lot of monetary instability, and I think then at that point we have to get back to a gold standard, Nieuwenhuis told them. The transition from the current fiat monetary system to a gold standard has to first address the debt overhanging in our economy, Nieuwenhuis said. The main problem we have in the economy right now is the massive debt overhang, predominantly in the developed nations' government debt, but also corporate debt and private debt just is very high. It's at record levels, he said. A potential gold standard could take several forms. There are several options for a gold standard. You have the classical gold standard, but you also have the gold price targeting by central banks, he said in the video. If you get gold price targeting, the only thing the central banks would do is target the price of gold, and that would be their monetary policy. A gold price targeting mechanism differs from a classical form of gold standard, which would allow a direct conversion of fiat notes to gold. Currently, countries around the world are on a race to the bottom with devaluing their currencies, and Nieuwenhuis said that this is an attempt to raise inflation rates and indirectly reduce the value of debt still in the economy, which is a very interesting thought, all right? If we consider the massive QE that's going around right now, this does make a lot of sense that this is being handled and being done. And if you consider to another fact that with the amount of money that's being put into this economy, you know, it would most certainly deflate. It's kind of interesting how, you know, how this would all kind of move along. It's kind of interesting how this theory moves here, and it's really on par with the things that are going on right now. Devaluing against other nations can be beneficial sometimes, but what they actually want in the US and Europe, but also in Japan, is consumer price inflation. And preferably with, I meant by inflation, by the way, what I just said. And preferably with interest rates at or below zero, deeply negative real interest rates, this would wash away and lower the debt burden, he said. On silver, which he really likes, I've seen a couple of other videos with him talking about silver, Nieuwenhuis has said that the white metal should be considered a currency more than a commodity due to its high stock-to-flow ratio, and therefore analyzing supply and demand is not useful for predicting prices. That's a question we can't really answer right here, but the rest of what he said does make a lot of sense. It really makes a lot of sense, right? It really makes a lot of sense. So what I'm considering here, right, is right now there's a unknown level of doubt, right? That's the easiest way to say it. People don't know at all what they want. People don't know at all what to expect. I mean, we just saw this as well, a quote from, you know who, I think you guys know who, you can see it right there. This is what we know. We have to go back to the state level and how this morass came to be in the first instance. The governor, Wolf, and the state Supreme Court flagrantly violated the Constitution of the US. The power to set these rules and regulations is vested in the legislature. They just ignored that, yada, yada, yada. But a very important point here is that we have to go back to the state level and how this morass came to be in the first instance. I'm thinking with this whole situation that we're seeing right now, there's a good chance that some what are they called now? What is in a tree? The freaking leaves. Oh, there we go. The leaves are going to be falling from some of these trees. They've been building up here. They've been growing for a very long while, and only now are they starting to fall and are they starting to uncover themselves, right? They're maybe the bark is going to, no, I know I don't have the best the best puns or whatever to make here because it's English and I, cannot speak that properly in English. If you guys didn't know, it's not my first language, all right? A lot of people still do not know that because they say the accent sounds like it is, but it's not. So cut me some slack whenever I mess up with these words, all right? I try my best. I've learned this stuff for freaking ages now. Having said that, I think a lot of stuff is being uncovered right now, and that is actually pretty damn positive, you know, because we're talking about XRP, right? We're talking about Ripple. What's the biggest issue? The biggest issue, first of all, is the necessity of it. The necessity is very apparent to all of us. However, to a lot of these global leaders and a lot of these bigger guys, it's necessary but not a number one priority. However, I think due to this transparency issue that we're seeing right now, that we're witnessing firsthand, that he is making very, very clear, and this legislation issue, we might get a better crackdown on crypto in a positive sense relatively soon here as, well, what Ripple's vision is through the Internet of Value is at least two things that are primarily a focus for this exact topic. One of them being voting being done, I guess, transparently, but second of all, and most importantly, everything that has to do with finance being like it's nothing. You know, just being completely transparent, being completely fast, and kind of a no question, a no-brainer is what they want to make it. And I think that this is another very good catalyst for all of that. A lot of people were asking me, you know, what's crypto doing right now, and how is that working? What is it? Is it good? Is it bad? Well, guys, another thing you should consider here is that the guys that are working on Ripple are pretty big pioneers in the whole financial space, not only crypto, and specifically not only XRP. So Chris Larsen is a good example, is involved with this. Stone Ridge reveals $115 million Bitcoin investment as part of billion-dollar spinoff. And if we check, 3 years ago, the founders of the $10 billion Stone Ridge Asset Management had a problem. Several of the advisory firm's founders and senior employees were buying Bitcoin at such rate that it became obvious the purchases needed to be looked at more closely by the firm's auditors. Yada, yada, yada was a little bit of a scandal. But a little bit below here, if we check, a little bit down, we can see this. Few NYDIG customers are public yet, and that's what this is talking about here. Though a representative of the company says Stone Ridge's $115 million position isn't the largest it manages. Last month, Ripple chairman Chris Larsen revealed he'd moved one of his XRP wallets to NYDIG custody. And what does this mean? Well, I'm thinking actually that Chris Larsen has said on Twitter that they're friends, you know, and that he knows them from some earlier ventures. I'm thinking that Chris Larsen is actually way bigger of a pioneer than we are making him out to be. I know he's, of course, a billionaire already, and he's got himself connections everywhere and all these talks that he has. He knows his people. But we don't really see often that Chris Larsen is trying to help out crypto in a bigger sense by doing some stuff. We just see him mostly advocating Ripple and sometimes crypto / sustainability, but not that much. Like, who have they directly gotten into the game here? For example, maybe MoneyGram and some partners with ODL. But you guys get me what I'm trying to say? And this might be a very good example where this is just a sprout. This is just a start where he planted a seed of faith and a seed of publicity, and maybe that will spark another, you know, couple $1 billion worth of deposits, a couple $1 billion worth of people hopping on in. I'm definitely thinking about that. However, that's not the only thing. All right, another list I've actually found right now, which I've never before taken a look at, was the one from Grayscale. This is a little bit outdated as it is from June 30th, I think this year though. Yeah, definitely this year. But these are some of the guys that are in Grayscale, so these are a lot of the institutions that are buying up crypto. It's fun because it's very, very difficult to find out exactly who is buying what and what are the big addresses are exactly from who. I mean, you can find out a general idea, but it's pretty damn difficult to find it out exact. And it's kind of cool then to see just a whole list here of who's buying what and how much. I think that's pretty damn cool, right? To see who's getting into it. It gives you kind of an idea of what Grayscale is all about, because Grayscale is often looked at a big company who's buying crypto themselves, but that's not the case. You know, they're kind of buying stuff for the people, which is something we should also not forget. And so it's more important who are the customers rather than what is Grayscale buying themselves, because they're not really doing that. Interesting one right there, right? I don't know if you guys want to further investigate or talk about that one, but it was something that popped up, and I don't know what else to say about this one. It's just rather interesting, if you were to ask me. It's rather damn interesting. So you do with it as you please, but that's something you all must know. Then another important thing is to look at market cycles, because, I mean, who doesn't like a good little market cycle, right? Who doesn't like it? We earlier established that right now we might be in the greed phase, because, I mean, people are completely mind-bogglingly greedy right now, and they're trying their best to get themselves more crypto. It is insane. But if we take a little bit of a look right here, we can see it might be a little bit more of a hope phase right now, where it's like people are really hopeful we're gonna be seeing a 2017 level happen once earlier happened, you know, something like that. I don't really know exactly what you should call it, but this does make a lot of sense as well, and well, it's pretty damn beautiful to take a look at. All right, it's honestly pretty damn beautiful. So now the big question is, what's gonna happen next, right? But it basically all follows the same kind of line, and it's pretty cool to see. So he's a little bit of a talk here about exactly how it all entails and what it all means. But the period right now, as the market returns to its former glory, you revert to the market in the hope of making profits. Once again, this is the emotion that makes the investor more careful and eventually leads to profits. Right? That's pretty damn crazy. Pretty damn crazy. Another idea here I just saw was for Bitcoin. Bitcoin, this rally may be extended to 17,000 before a pullback. You know, maybe this guy predicted exactly what happened right now. I don't really know, because Bitcoin did really hit 15.9, I believe, already. And some are saying we're going to just go higher and higher and higher. And his point, let's see here exactly on the line. His point here, oh no, it's actually 16 point now. Okay, so my thought does not actually work out here properly. So that's kind of a bummer. I thought maybe he had predicted it, but now he's saying 17,000 and we hit 15.9, not 16.9. So I guess in the next couple of days we might have 1,000 more to climb. I don't remember exactly what it was, the level in my video that I talked about earlier today about which zone would be very, very important. I'm thinking it's this zone right here as well, right? Or is it a little bit lower? This chart is a little bit confusing. Let's see. Okay, it was this zone right here, this area. So yeah, it's right around 16,000 that my personal question was about, till about 17. Yeah, I guess this makes a little bit of sense. In general, everything is looking pretty damn positive though. And if we're talking about XRP, I think the same still applies to most people when I ask them. This one is a little bit more negative, but I mean, check the price. Check what's going on. I don't really know how you can be negative or a negative Nancy right now when things are looking this freaking bloomy. I don't really think that's valid. All right, if you're honestly asking me here, I don't think the negative thoughts and the negative predictions are really valid. However, this thing does again make a lot of sense where it's like, okay, we're going up. We can either, you know, try and overextend, or we're gonna correct like always and move back up even higher. And the bigger question is, what are we gonna see back then? And really, how will this candle here come along? It's a 2 hour, and thus we can actually already see, I think, how it played out. Well, there we already went, all right? His thought, completely invalid. So everything he wrote down here, boom, just useless. Crap, we can almost call it. There's another idea that we have hit a new top right here at about 26.1 cents. I've talked about that earlier in a video. But this theory of falling back down at about 24.8, yeah, that doesn't really work along, right? And a lot of the guys that I've talked to have the same kind of thought process where it's like, okay, you know what, we're going to be falling down almost instantly back again. But very often that does not happen. All right, very often when Bitcoin goes on a rampage, these cryptos will follow along, but it just takes a little bit of time. It's like there's a delay happening. It's pretty obvious if you take a look at the XRP chart here on the weekly, but then again, all right, who knows up front, right? I just think so that it's almost always the same thing. And I mean, even if you don't really consider all this intermediary stuff, the end game is always the same, where it's like all these coins will go to their all-time high again anyway. So, I mean, if you pick Bitcoin, which again, I have a lot of, so don't get me wrong, well, you have about 30% to go. If you pick XRP, there's about 1,400% to go. And I guess most of us are still quite convinced it will get there anyway. Again, that's talking about endgame, and that's to kind of end off the episode here. To repeat, the endgame is just money moving invisibly as easily as information, which is coming. Ripple's a good part of that. But also, guys, check out the Growth Masters Academy. I've just said it, but I will tell you guys again to do it. And also make sure you press the like button on these videos. If we hit 50 likes on this one, I'll upload another video. And I definitely think they're worth it, because I'm just giving you guys some secrets and tips on how to earn some more money using social media. So why not check it out? What's the lose here? It's literally just tips, and you can start earning almost instantly. There's nothing you have to pay for, nothing like that. So just check it out, and I'll see you guys again in another crypto video.